in addition to sharing my story and my journey with you, I'm hoping to gain some knowledge that will help me as I guide them as young adults as well. My background is in accounting and business administration. I have an MBA from the University of Maryland at College Park, and I've worked in the federal government for the past almost 20 years as a financial manager. And prior to that, I was in private sector in the consulting industry. So the highlights of my job really are mentoring and now coaching. I recently became a certified coach for the Department of the Army, and I'm looking forward to growing in that function and that role as a coach, in addition to my financial management responsibilities. So that's kind of what I do. I love coaching. I enjoyed mentoring very much, but I'm enjoying coaching more because here is with coaching, I've learned that the difference is not me telling them what the best thing to do is or what the right step is, but helping them discover for themselves what that right step is, and therefore giving them more ownership. And that just appeals to me so much. So I do enjoy that. I take a lot of joy in that. And then the last thing to share about me, I guess, my hobbies are reading and baking. 9 times out of 10, you'll find a book near me or on my phone. I'm always reading something, and I do enjoy baking very much. So that's how I spend my not so much free time, but when I do get it, that's what I do. Over.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Toe, and I haven't known Marian for 20 years. I've known her for 2 years. And I am very honored to be talking to you here because I am a proud immigrant. I moved to the United States 34 years ago. It's been a long time as an adult. I was born and raised in Malaysia. I'm Chinese Malaysian. So in terms of cultural identity, very much identify myself with the Chinese culture because the hometown that I was in is like 75% of the population are Chinese. I moved here as an adult. I'm trying to follow Edie's format. I'm married for 30 years. My husband and I celebrated our 30th anniversary last December. And I have 2 children too. My daughter is 22 and my son is 19. So both young adults. And I am in my 3rd career. So the 4th year I'm in America, I actually opened a restaurant with my husband, a Chinese restaurant. So that was my first career. We ran a restaurant for 6 years. I went back to school, got my MBA, and then I went into corporate finance and accounting. So I spent 15 years with Procter & Gamble and then 5 years with another 2 company, Kraft Heinz and Convergys. So I am now in my 3rd career. I like my first 2 career. I like my restaurant business and I like my finance and accounting career. I love what I'm doing right now. I am a coach now, and Edie has mentioned what joy she's getting from coaching. My transition to coaching started when I took the same class that Marianne took at Coach Diversity Institute. I went to get officially trained as a coach because I wanted to be able to coach my leaders instead of just mentoring, because at Procter & Gamble, I mentor a lot of people, more than 50 people. I was like a super mentor at Procter & Gamble, and then realized that it's not enough. And also for me to be able to help my leaders, I need coaching skills. So that's how it got started. So right now I have 3 focuses in my life. My career as a coach, I do train. That's how Mary and I got to work together. I speak a little bit, but my first love is still coaching, because every time when I'm in that sacred place with my client, for them to feel safe and be vulnerable, I feel that I am actually doing something good for the world. That's how I feel my job. And my second focus is nonprofit. I am very active in nonprofit organizations. I'm involved with 7 right now, but I'm trying to kind of streamline into maybe 4 by the end of this year. Also getting a lot of joy out of that. And my third focus is really my family, because I really realized that my husband and I are both aging and my mother is aging. I can hear the ticking of the countdown clock, but I can see the face. So it was just a scary feeling, right? You know, but you don't know. So that's why I am really prioritizing. Anytime there's opportunities for me to spend quality time with my family, I do that. So that's me. I think that's it, right? Yes. I'm very
Yeah.
honored to be here, and I am really coming here to share with you my stories as an immigrant. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. So we didn't practice this, but I didn't know
Yeah.
that both of you have, well, I knew, but I hadn't put it together. Both of you are coaches, right? And I hear the passion in coaching. You both explained a little bit about the difference between coaching and mentoring. We will get to talk about that. Then the other thing I didn't realize was that both of you have a finance background. So, wow, what a pair. One coming from Malaysia, China, one from coming from Ghana. Yeah, and this is all about our experiences. Hopefully, what you hear today, you can get some tips and tools and resources to use. So we will get to your similarities later. But you know, the first two chapters of my book talks about chapter one is don't abandon your culture, and the other one is be confident in your own skin. And over the months, over the years, if you have young adults in the house who you hear, be your authentic self, right? Be your authentic self. What does that mean to you? What has been your authentic self, especially in the workplace? What does it mean to you? And please feel free to link how your accent. So in the book, I talk a lot about accent, how sometimes we make our accents a disqualifier. It shouldn't be. Yeah, so feel free to weave that in, talk about your authenticity, what it means to you, and how you are expressing your authenticity. I can't even speak. How you are being your authentic self at work and how it's helping you and how you've adjusted here and there. Sophia, who wants to go first?
You want me to go first? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. What it means to be your authentic self. It means that it's not expensive to be you. It means that when you don't feel like you are to be you is hard. I have talked to many people who told me that they don't feel like they're themselves at work. They have to wear a mask because they believe that the environment cannot accept who they are. But I do want to say is how to be authentic best too, in a way, because your authenticity shouldn't be impacting other people, right? So shouldn't be. So you do want to show that authentic, good side of you. It took me a while to feel comfortable that way. I know Marianne brought out the accent piece. I do have a Malaysia, we call it Manglish, Malaysian English accent. And I grew up in the Chinese medium, which means that English was always like that one subject until I finished high school. So I actually seriously learned English when I came here. So I watched Seinfeld and Friends. So if you get some of my references, that's where I get that's how I see people. But I actually muted myself for, I would say, for the good part of maybe the first 15 years, because I felt that people kind of reacted to my accent and realized that I'm not from here, right? And it took me a while to get through that mental block. And then I realized that, wait a minute here. I realized that some people actually don't speak proper English too, like their grammar and everything, but because they're comfortable and also the listeners are comfortable with them, accepting them. That's why they get every words that they say. And I also realized that we have, like at P&G, we have some leaders who are from another country or in other continents who has really strong accents, but interesting enough that everybody knows every single word that they meant. So I started to say, is it on the listener too? And is it because I'm nervous? I make other people nervous, and so I started to say, okay, let's work on myself first. So when and one breakthrough for me was that when I say, okay, I just don't care about my accent anymore, because I'm actually comfortable with speaking publicly, because in Malaysia, I was in debates and all that stuff, right? But in another language. So one time I was organizing an event. So I had this opener and I was telling people how important it is to have mentors and all that stuff. I was speaking from my heart. And then afterwards, I have someone who is another immigrant. He's from China. He told me that you're a role model, and you're to me, because I was brave enough to speak in front of people. And then I realized that it's not really about the accent per se. The accent just means that I know another language, right? I know more than one language. So I started to realize that if I am clear, I am concise, and I'm confident, people get you. And so that mental block took me, I would say, a good part of 10 to 15 years, because every time when people slow down, realizing that you're not from here, or anytime when I mess up my he, she, because in Chinese, he, she means the same. So I always he, she, like sometimes I messed up he, she. And every time when I mess it up, and somebody will say, oh, maybe you need to take a communication class. That really bothered me, right? But I don't let it bother me anymore, because now I really focus on the important part. Am I clear? Am I concise? I get to the point, or am I and I confident? Because if I'm confident, my listeners won't get nervous for me too. So that's my learning. Yeah.
Wow. So I heard that, let me just repeat the last bit. So long as you are clear, you are concise, you are confident, you're good to go, right? Actually, everyone has an accent. Whether you were born here, you were born in Iceland, you were born in Nigeria, we all have an accent. But I hear what you're saying, Sophia, is being clear, being concise, and being confident. I wrote three things, a couple of things down, that you were wearing a mask. You know, your accent, I think I heard you right. You felt muted. And when we don't use our voice, our opinions are not heard, we can't make an impact. We need that voice to be able to make an impact. So thank you for sharing that. And the one thing that you also said, you have to work on yourself. So I remember in one of the sessions that I was having, somebody was saying, oh, I have to be myself. I'm not going to change my accent for anyone. And then just chatting with my boss, he said, the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to be right, or do you want to be effective? And I hear we want to be effective. So being clear, being concise, being confident. Thank you, Sophia. Edie, please. Same question.
Well, thank you, Marianne. So I'm going to try not to repeat everything that Sophia said, because I agree with her 100%. But in my role and my function as a financial manager, I have to be clear. People have to understand, you know, when I'm explaining regulations and why they can't do certain things, I have to be able to clearly explain, this is the law, or this is the regulation that prevents us from doing this. However, we can do this or that or the other. So I have learned to, I won't call it a mask per se, but I have learned to, in whatever environment I'm in, try to speak in such a way that the people in that environment can understand me. And so, you know, when I'm with my Ghanaian friends, they'll say, oh, you're slanging, you know, because sometimes that quasi-American accent will come out, because I do that at work a lot. And it's so that I can be understood and I can be heard. And to me, that's part of my being authentic, because I want to be effective in the workplace. You know, I don't want to go to work and not make an impact. And so if making an impact in my workplace means I have to speak so that those senior leaders can understand what I'm saying, especially when it comes to the financials, and so they can walk away from the meeting understanding this is what our budget is, this is what we are allowed to do and not allowed to do, then I'm going to speak in such a way that I feel that they will understand me. And I do the same thing with my family, you know, with friends or wherever I am. So I make myself be the best me that I think that God called me to be in that situation. And for me, that's part of my authenticity. I wanted to just kind of address something that Marianne mentioned about somebody who felt that they couldn't be themselves in the workplace. I think my question to such a person would be, what are the mission, the vision, and the values of that organization? And do you identify with them? because you're not going to be able to really be yourself if you're working in a place where you don't believe in what you're doing, or you don't subscribe to or identify with the values of that organization. I'm blessed to work for the Department of the Army, and things like loyalty and duty and honor, integrity, selfless service, courage, personal courage, those are part of the Army values, and I identify with every single one of those. And so it makes it easy for me to go to work every day, because I know when I go to work, I'm showcasing those values, I'm living them, and I'm trying to teach other people who are coming up behind me what those values are and how they also can subscribe to them. And I will say that I have some employees that came into it for the job, for the money. They needed a job, and they applied and they got selected, and they don't really always maybe believe in everything that the Army is doing, but they are learning that in order to be satisfied and fulfilled in that role, they have to accept and believe that this is what we're doing as the U.S. Army, and begin to live those values. And I've seen them change over time to where now they're embracing those values. So I think knowing your organization, your company, whatever it is you're doing, what are the values, what is the mission of that organization, and while you're there, can you make sure that that mission is accomplished? And if you can't, then you probably need to find somewhere else to make your work home, because then you won't be fulfilled. You will always feel like you need to wear that mask or not be the real you. Over.
Wow, words of wisdom. So Edie, as we are speaking, I heard being your authentic self to you means making an impact, right? Making sure that you are understood, right? The best me, bringing your best self is all part of your authenticity. There's something that you said that I wanted to laugh out loud about the slanging. For those of you who you are from Ghana, and Sophia is from Asia, and we do a lot of code switching, right? And so depending on where you are, right, you have to code switch. But there was something so sometimes it's difficult for people to mention my last name. So when I started out in my career, I would say Marian Amoa. And then I remember once I was in a Ghanaian gathering and I had forgotten completely. So I said Amoa, and people were like, So I quickly had to change to it's Amwa. And now, as I've grown in my career, I'm confident to write that it's Amwa, and I write it phonetically. It's AMWA, if you pronounce it that way. So anyway, that made me smile. Thank you for those of you who have just joined us, Breaking Through series, Voices of Immigrants. We have Sophia Toll here with us and Idana Folsen. If you have a question, raise your hand. Happy. This is a conversation, sharing our experiences, sharing anecdotes, sharing our tips and resources. So by all means, if you have a question or a contribution, you can raise your hand and share with us. And I see all the names. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So my next question to both of you will be, I have two questions. Let's take one at a time. Can you share an experience where embracing your unique identity helped you overcome a challenge? You can take that one, or you can think about that, or you can take this question. How can one become more confident and proud of their accent or personal traits? So both of you are women. So now we are talking about intersectionalities. You are women, one is Black, one is Asian. So you are people of color, minority. You have an accent as well. And so if you can share how one can be confident of these other traits that are looked on as minority traits or whatever, and how you've overcome those, that would be great. So Edie, you can take
well, okay. I guess I'll start. And I see that Desta, if I'm saying that correct, said something that I like to say all the time, and I say it in a joking way, but it's the truth. Even people in the U.S. have accents, and their accents are American. Texans have a different accent from the people in Maine and the people in New York and the people in Jersey. So helping people to understand that. And many times, because I guess, we are seen as the externals, the people coming from outside, I think that puts a little bit more of pressure on us, or it creates a feeling, that maybe you are not all there or all that. You're not the best, or you are not 100%. And so that's something that I think that we as immigrants and children of immigrants, we have to understand and overcome. Every one of us has something to offer, okay? And your accent is part of who you are. And so embrace it. And I know I talk about, changing or, modifying my accent depending on what environment I'm in, but it's still heard and it's still, noticed by people. And when they say, oh, you have an accent, where are you from? I say, oh, I'm from Ghana. But I've lived in the US for so many years or whatever. And then I always add, if I say anything that's unclear, please let me know, because I want to make sure that you understand and you understand what I'm saying. I teach a class about 4 or 5 times a year for the government. And that's the first thing I say when I introduce myself is who I am, where I'm from, and why I have an accent is because I was born here, but I lived in Ghana and Nigeria for, more than 15 years. And even though I've lived in the US longer than I've lived anywhere else, I still have an accent. So I embrace it. It's part of who I am. I'm not ashamed of it. It's part of me, In terms of personal traits, one of the other things that I always like to communicate in the workplace is my faith. So that's something that I used to hide, when I was younger in the workforce. I didn't talk openly about my faith. And even now in the federal government, we're not, technically, they say we're not supposed to talk about politics or religion. But if you come to me looking for my help or my assistance, you're going to hear that as a believer, this is what I would do in this situation. And so that faith governs everything that I do, every decision I make, every advice I want to give. I'm thinking about it through the lens of what would Jesus do? Or what does the Bible say about the situation? And that's how my advice is always colored or, impacted by that. And people know that. So, in meetings, someone will maybe curse or use a swear word and they'll look at me and they'll say, oh, sorry, because they know, they know I'm a believer. And so they'll apologize. And even if they don't, I just accept that's who they are. That's where diversity comes in, right? So, I'm not going to be angry at you because you use a curse word. But if you're on my team, I do say in meetings, please ensure that when you're speaking in meetings where I'm present, you endeavor not to do this. Because first of all, because I don't think it's professional, more so than the biblical or the believer aspect of it. It's just not very professional to use certain language in the workplace. That's my personal belief. And so I try to encourage my team to consider that when they're speaking. And especially when they're speaking with senior leaders in the room, to make sure that their language is appropriate for the situation.
Yes.
Acceptable. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
So understanding that, you are you for a reason, you are made for a reason, you need to know what that reason is and you need to live that reason. And then understand that your accent is not bad. It's just a different accent from, other people that may be around you. And then I think the third thing about embracing your traits is find a way to share that culture with your workmates, your teammates. I think we're talking more here about the workplace, so yes. That's why my references are more towards that. But I wear my African clothes to work sometimes. I do wear my African clothes every now and then. I have tops, I have skirts, so I kind of mix and match. And when we have our every month we have what you call it, a birthday celebration, and we bring food in. And I bring all kinds of food in. I'll make something Mexican one time. I'll make something African another time, something Asian. So, I mix it up, but people know that this is who I am and where I'm from. And at the end of the day, because I'm delivering excellent work, it doesn't really, I feel like it doesn't negatively impact who I am. But you have to understand that this is who you are and what you're there to do, and make sure you're doing what you're there to do. I think if you're excelling in your everyday work delivery, the things like the accent and what you wear and how you sound and how you look become less of an issue because they know they're always going to get excellence from Idana Folsen. Over.
Wow. Okay. Hey, I'm looking at the time. This is good. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Excellence. And I like the way that you skillfully weave in your faith. You're not holding the Bible, hitting people's heads, but your work is showing who you are and showing your values. Thank you, Edie. I don't want to comment too much because I want to give Sophia the chance to also speak. And I said I don't want to comment, but let me just say this. You know, the thing about somebody was sharing in my book, I talk about how I was tired of hearing you have an accent, blah, 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 where are you from? And I do a bit of speaking, you know, trainings at work. So the skill or the trick or tip that I use, when I stand to speak, I'll say, my name is Marianne. I'm sure you hear an accent. I'm originally from Ghana. If I'm speaking too fast or you don't understand anything, I'm happy to stop and, you know, emphasize, put some more emphasis on my R, or instead of saying work, like Ghanaians will say work, or Nigerians will say walk, I will say work. I would, yeah. So those are a few tips. Now over to you, Sophia. Thank you, Edie.
Thank you. Oh, what can I add? Well, I do want to say I don't explain or apologize for my accents anymore. Now that I've spoken many times, even internationally, I do think that it's really a lot of the work is also on the listeners too, right? Because when people listen to you, they are they're the unconscious bias and everything are playing good or bad. Yeah, so I actually don't try to explain where I'm from anymore, like because of how I sound. Yeah, and I remember a funny scenario when so I've lived in 7 states in the United States, and we spent 2 years in Boston, and we were at the rental car counter. And then the person at the counter has such a heavy Boston accent. I was asking my son, my young son, is he speaking English? Because he has such a strong accent. But it was just a funny incident. Now on this part right here, I am now at the point that if I see some places or leadership or some group where I would like to contribute to, and I see that it's not diverse, I was like, oh, let me try and apply to it to see maybe I can add a little bit values to to the conversation. I actually now do see my intersectionality, and I think Marianne brought up intersectionality as value added to the context, because I feel that their discussions are not going to be as rich because they don't have this multi-layer richness that all of us have that we take with you. I used to think about, I don't know if anyone, probably everyone is intersectionality is about how our different roles and backgrounds, right, are adding to our identities. I used to think of intersectionality as a disadvantage for myself. I'm a woman, right? And then I am Asian, and I'm immigrant. I have accent. I kept thinking that I'm on the totem pole, and the Dow kept going down because of that. I no longer see that. I actually do think that it's my advantage because of my very different background. My network is a lot bigger than everyone. And then my knowledge, my life experience, I can relate people so quickly than everyone else, because guess what? You want to talk about being a mom, you want to talk about being an Asian, you want to talk about being an immigrant, you want to talk about being a Christian, so I really do now see as having an advantage. And but I do want to say that it's important for us to let people to know us first. Know Sophia first, and then Sophia is an Asian woman, and then blah blah all that stuff. So when I mentor my mentees, or I encourage them to say, let people know you first by your name, and everything that follows you, the multi-layer complexities that you come with, like you play tuba or whatever, those are just the richness that you're adding, that you bring with you. So it's important so that you don't see yourself that way too. So you don't see yourself, I am an immigrant, therefore I should be happy that I got to manager level, because you know what, no immigrants haven't made it to VP. I even have someone, a manager who told me, Sophia, you should be so grateful. You made it this far. And you should be so grateful because it's not easy. And then I was thinking about leaving the company. I was like, well, when you get to your next company, you better stay there until you retire. So why do we let people tell us that kind of disempowering belief, right? This is from the coaching thing. So we need to tell ourselves, I am Sophia. I am Asian. I'm a woman. I'm a mom. I'm a sister, mother. We have all of that, but those are all advantage to us. So we really do not want the outside noise to help us, to make us disempowering ourselves. Yeah. I say
Wow.
over. I think that's what you say, right? Over.
Over. I see Pastor Civil, Dr. Civil, Chief Diversity Officer, put a love sign. Don't let people disempower you. Don't listen to those disempowering stories. Empower yourself. And there was something that Sophia said, yeah, that having a diverse background actually expands your network, which is true. And a wise woman I know likes to say, your network is your net worth, something like that. So that is great. And great stuff, great stuff. We will continue because I'm looking at the time. Both of you at the beginning said you are both financial managers or being in the financial space, and you're both coaches, right? And I believe one of the chapters in the book talks about having a coach, an ally, a mentor. Let me just read this quote. It says, your ally, and I use ally loosely to as the umbrella word for mentoring, coaching. So it says your ally becomes your sponsor, your champion, and your defense. He or she opens doors for you that would otherwise be shut. Your ally mentions your name in high places, and your ally advocates for you. So both of you are coaches. Both of you have had mentors. This question might be packed. You can unpack it and answer it anyway. Do you have a mentor yourself, or an ally, or a coach? And if you can talk about the benefits you have gained from having a mentor or a coach and share an example, that would also be great. So I think this time, Sophia, you can go.
I have many mentors. In corporate, if officially in the system, I have 4 mentors. So I'm going to name the race just to show you the diversity of it. So my key mentor and sponsor, a white woman. I have a mentor and sponsor too, a black male. Both of them are really like high up in the company. I have an South Asian male who was my mentor, and then I have a white male who used to be my skip level manager, who became my mentor after I move along. And then I have a lot of informal mentor that I reach out to. And I probably, for some reason, like in the US, Procter & Gamble, finance, female, Asian, they're probably all my mentees because the Asian network will assign them to be my mentees. And the first thing I asked them is, am I your only mentor? And if they say yes, I said no, you need to seek out cross-culturally, get your mentors from different places because you want diverse view from your mentors, and they all have something that they can give you. So I definitely do think that my progression in the company is because of the people support system. Maybe not intentionally because I just love to build relationship, right? But it's really the people who are thinking about me when I'm not in the room, right? Those are the sponsors. So seek out people who may not look like you or talk like you, who you may be concerned that they're very different from you, and just approach them as a human and care about them too, right? Don't think of them just to give you something, reciprocate, but by really respecting their accomplishments and seek for advice. And I really do think that it's really important. From our because I read your book, so I think from our culture, we think that if we just put our head down and we do hard work, we'll be recognized and we'll be promoted. That is definitely not the case here in Western culture. And because I remember when I first came to the US, people say, oh, Asia is a high context culture, relationship based, and the US is a low context culture. You just go direct and everything. That is not true, because we already know that a lot of the discussions happen outside of meetings, before meetings, right? How are you not always being involved in the conversation? So I really do think that we need to really say, okay, how can I approach someone on a human basis? If you feel like somebody has something to, so get rid of our unconscious bias too, right? And say, how can I, if this person says something that is interesting, that may resonate with me, regardless of what they look like, and we can reach out to them and see how it goes. Yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful. People are thinking about you when you are not in the room. And I think that for all of us starting our careers, in our careers, even ending our careers, we should remember that a lot of the decisions are not even made at the workplace. They are made at the golf course. They are made at the children's games when they meet. So making sure that you have a diverse pool of mentors and coaches, really, really key. We'll talk about mixed race mentoring shortly, but Edie, if you can answer the question, and I'll get back.
Sure. Yes, I actually do have all three I have multiple mentors. I think right now my biggest ally is actually my supervisor, who is white, Caucasian male, because I feel like he's the one that brings my name into the room when it comes to, responsibilities, new, opportunities, and so on and so forth. There might be other people, just because they know what I can bring to the table, that may be my allies, but I may not be really aware that they're doing that. The one person I can say I know does that a lot is my supervisor. Coaches, I have two formal ones and multiple other ones. So all of the people that I was in the same cohort with, when I was in the Army coaching program, in that training course, we all coach one another. So I can call any one of them. I can just send a Teams message, hey, I need coaching through a particular issue or whatever. And whoever is available will speak up and say, hey, I'm free, I can meet you now or whatever. And then we get on Teams and they coach me through the issue. So I have multiple coaches. But I think that all three are needed, and maybe depending on the stage at which you are in your work life, you may need a mentor more at one point in time, an ally more at another point in time, and a coach more at a certain point in time. So it just depends. So figuring out who those people can be for you, I think, is really, really important. I can give you so many stories. Before I joined the federal government, like I said, I was in private sector, and that's where I got that belief that you really need to believe in the vision and the mission of where you're working to be happy and to be successful and to be able to give your best. Because it was a really great job. I enjoyed the travel, I enjoyed the people I was working with, but I couldn't really figure out how to break beyond a certain level, and because at the time I didn't really understand what has been made clear here is that a lot of those decisions are made not in the room. All my hard work and, my effort and, sacrificing my family time to do working 60, 70 hours a week, that type of thing. I didn't see it bearing much fruit. And it's because I wasn't on the golf course with them. I wasn't going for the happy hours, because the happy hours were always on Friday evening, and I had to be in service on Friday evening. So I was leaving DC on the 4 o'clock train so I could get back to Baltimore so I could be in service at 7 p.m. on a Friday. They were going to the golf course on Sunday morning. I was in church on Sunday morning. So I didn't know then what I know now is there are other ways that you can break into that environment or that group or be heard by those people. And so I was just plugging away at my job, and I saw other people getting promoted ahead of me. I took time off to have a baby, and I came back and they had given my job to somebody else and then asked me to train that person, so it's really important that you know how to gain the ear of those decision makers and those key people who are in places that you might not always get access to. And I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But yes, having a mentor has been invaluable to me. Having a coach is a newer concept for me. I've had a coach for approximately 6 or 8 months now, and that is just again, both of my coaches actually again are Caucasian males. I have mentors who have been African American women, and none of the Asian, but most of my mentors have actually been in the financial management arena. So I don't have any mentors that are not. But on the personal side, I think I have 2 people on this Zoom meeting right now who I consider mentors. They might not know that they were my mentors, but I watched them raise their children, and I learned so much from them, Marian and Dr. Sybil. I would ask them questions and I would copy them, and things that they did in their homes and in their families, I did in my family. And a lot of times it worked. So thank you. If you didn't know you were my mentor, you know now.
Okay.
But
all right.
Yeah, it's important to have people that you can reach out to, that you can get that help from. Over.
Fantastic. So, Pastor, I'm reading some of the comments.
Can I add something here?
Yes.
I do think that this is important. I want to tell you a little bit quick story. I met an Asian female immigrant from China. I'll say 2.5 years ago at a conference that we attended. So she set up like a separate mentoring session with me, and then she told me that her ambition, her destination role at her company will be senior manager. So I was like, why senior manager? Why not director? You have like 10 to 15 years to go in your career. And she just thought that she's just really grateful. She likes the company and everything. And I said, have you ever had the conversation with your manager? And she said, no, not really. She's just waiting for the time to come. So I kind of coach her to say, how do you have this discussion? You are interested in the next level. What does it take? Am I there yet? And everything. So I would say maybe like 9 months ago, she reached out to me again and she told me she got promoted. She said that all she did was just talk to her manager about figure out, okay, is she there yet? If not, what she needs to do. And then her manager actually said that I actually didn't know that you have the ambition to lead, to be people manager or anything. And I was like, so self-advocacy really important. So don't just wait until the time comes. Yeah, it is very vulnerable to say that you want something, right? You might feel like, oh, I don't want to be creating that sense of entitlement. No, we are definitely not going to be like trying to ask for anything that is not due yet, right? Because all of us put a lot of work in it as immigrants, because this is a land of opportunities. But self-advocacy, think about that, because if you have self-advocacy, you will be moreover and reach out to people and find mentors, find sponsors. So really important to remember that sometimes you only ask and then the door opens for you. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Have the conversation. Pastor Suba has written so true. Hard work isn't enough. Have the conversation and self-advocacy. And I would say for immigrants, some of us, we think that, like Sophia, you said earlier that somebody said you are lucky to be where you are or something of the sort. Some of us, we have that poverty mentality. We think that, oh, I'm afraid to ask. I already have a good job. But there's more to you. If you can do the work, please ask, have the conversation, self-advocate. Don't, in the book, I talk about this proverb that says that, I want the and Casa, how do you even translate it now? It says that quality beats don't make any noise. You don't advocate for yourself. You just wait till somebody sees your good work. No, do the good work, be excellent, make an impact, but also have that conversation. There's a question here that I think we should answer, and whatever we get to. What is the basic difference between mentors and coaches? And if you can answer this quickly and add to, somebody is asking the question, what are the qualities in a mentor? If I'm looking for a mentor, I'm just starting my career, what are the qualities? So one of you can take that.
It's already answered, Marianne.
Oh, okay.
Edie answer. Yeah.
Edie said, from my perspective, a mentor guides you based on your own experiences and knowledge. A coach helps you discover your own path for yourself without bringing their own perspective into it. Okay. Yeah. So your coach actually takes. Okay, go ahead, Edie.
Well, I was going to kind of give an example. So if I'm mentoring someone, it's usually usually most of the time somebody who wants to get where I've gone or get to where I am, things like that. So I'm talking to them about my past and what did I do? I got these certifications. I studied these things. I applied for these types of positions, and that's how I am where I am now. Whereas as a coach, I don't really have to know their area of expertise. I can coach probably medical doctors. I can coach, army captains or lawyers, whoever it is, because as a coach, I'm asking questions based on whatever the problem is they bring into the room. I'm asking questions to help them figure out the answer for themselves. So I'm not telling them what I think the best way to do something is. I'm asking questions that help them decide, oh, this is what I need to do.
Okay, great. Fantastic. I just want to read something about the mixed mentoring that Sophia talked about. Sometimes we tend to want people who are from our culture or from our country. And like both Edie and Sophia have talked about, they've had mentors and coaches and allies from different races, different backgrounds. And this is a research that I found somewhere. So when the groups we identify with most closely, the groups we identify with most closely are very much like us. And so when we choose mentors from our, backgrounds or cultures, we limit what we can learn from others. We miss tapping into the knowledge and unique perspectives based on other life experiences. And we unintentionally build walls between ourselves and others that are constructed from our own unconscious biases. So please, if you are choosing a mentor, none of you answered qualities. You want to be like somebody, you want to advance in your career. There are qualities that you want to look at as you think about choosing a mentor, but also broaden your network, broaden the different people that you bring to speak into your lives or help to direct you. This is so good, so good, so good. By all means, put any questions you have in here, if you have one, or comments, or if you want to ask a question and you want to go off camera, raise your hand and we will take that. I'm just trying to see where to go now because we just have about 10, 12 minutes left. Okay, so page 81 for my book, it says that as an immigrant, you need to stand out among everyone else. As you know, you already have 2 or 3 identities or more: the color of your skin, your accent, your country of origin. Don't let these hold you back. As they say, success breeds success, and success knows no color. So what do I mean by stand out and shine? My question to both of you, being in the finance industry, Sophia, you've been an entrepreneur. I know you also have a business. What are some of the skills and attributes that you need to have to set you apart in your industry, or to make you stand out, to make you like shine, to make you effective, to make that impact that we are both talking about? If you can just comment on that. And if anyone has any other comments, please put it in the chat.
Okay. I think for me, the biggest attribute that I have is that I persevere. And I tease my mom all the time that she knew what she was doing they knew what they were doing when they named me, because Idana is the correct pronunciation of my name, and it literally means perseverance. And so, I hit a wall. If I know I'm supposed to go this way, if I hit a wall, I figure out, how do I get where I need to be? And I do that in my job every day. PMs want to do a project and they have a certain kind of funding. Well, you can't use this funding for this project, but you can do this with it or that with it. And then I help them figure out how to get there. So that tenacity and being able to persevere in the face of challenges, I think, is one of my biggest strengths. And that I apply that at home, I apply that at church, I apply that at work, wherever I am. If I'm saying no, then you need to know that there's no way it can be done. Because usually my answer is not no, but it's not this way. We can do this a different way. We can get you where you need to go a different way. So I persevere and I help them get where they need to go with their projects and so on. Being adaptable is another big one for me in my industry, being the federal government. Regulations are changing all the time. Every year, something is different about how we are supposed to do things, how we are supposed to operate. So learning to change with changing seasons and changing times is important. They're always fixing our
Somebody's
financial
sleeping and
system, but
snoring.
doing something different to it. And so I have learned how to be flexible. I've learned how to encourage my people to be flexible, so that we can get our work done. And if you turn on the system today and you see this thing where it says, "Oh well, you can't do this in this screen any longer. You have to go to this other screen to do it." People grumble and complain, and I grumble and complain too. But guess what? I learn. I look at the manual. I figure out how to do the new way, and I teach my people so we can keep on moving. One big thing I'll talk about flexibility here is the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, we were allowed to work from home 1 day a week, and we were in the office 4 days. And then with the pandemic, for almost a whole year and a half, we were in the office. We were at home 5 days a week. And your supervisor, how do you know your people are working? When when you can't see them in person, how do you know they're working? And I will admit there were many times I was kind of like, eyeing my folks, because I call somebody, you can hear that they're outside, but their status on the computer says they're working. So I'm like, what's going on? Where are you? Oh, I just took a few minutes to walk the dog or whatever. So learning how to adapt to those types of changes was a key thing for me. And I'm still kind of navigating that a little bit, but I've become, more flexible, more open to different people working different hours. As long as we're getting the work done, then I'm kind of okay with it, even though I would like to be able to look and say, okay, you work from this time to this time. That's how I know. So when I approve your time, I'm not lying because you actually did work 8 hours. It's been a challenge for me to do that. But that adaptability, not saying no, like persevering and making sure you get your mission accomplished has been very key for me. To be able to excel or set me apart in my industry. And then the other thing that I do a lot is I always make sure I'm learning something new. I'm learning something different. So every year I'm in a class for myself. I teach a class, but I'm also in a class for myself. I'm figuring out how to do things differently. I'm embracing the younger people, and I say younger, but newer to the workforce, who come with different ways of doing things. If you come in and you say, oh, I think I can, do this through pivot tables instead of this long way you're doing it, I'm like, how that's it, So embracing those types of things are what has helped me be different or, notable, I guess, in my organization. And then the last thing I think I want to just add is people know that I care, that I care for them as a person, that I care for them as an individual. My biggest thing is financial managers in the Corps of Engineers, we must be excellent. We must do our work and do it well. And so if you work for me, you know that. And when I'm pushing you to do certain things or learn certain things, you might grumble, but it's because I want you to be excellent. So those are the things I feel set me apart at work.
Wow. So you said a lot. I heard persevere, right? Be flexible. Yeah, that adaptable. Now think about this. I'll come back to you as we end pretty soon. If you are advising somebody who wants to break through. So the title of the book is Breaking Through. There's a reason why it's not breakthrough, because I believe that we are progressing. We are all not yet there. Even if you're the CEO, you are not yet there. There's always growth, right? So as we close, I would ask you for some parting words of wisdom for the young folks who are just starting their careers, those in the middle, those probably at the tail end who are thinking of retiring from the official workplace and thinking about their next chapter. So please think about that. But I love those things: persevere, adaptable, flexibility. So thank you. Sophia, over to you. Same question.
I guess I just want to say you already stood out. So if you don't look like anyone in the room, you already stood out. And how do you take advantage of that fact, right? And if you open your mouth and you have an accent, you already stood out. And how do you take advantage of that? Because a lot of us want to kind of minimize ourselves just so that people don't see us. But think about how you can leverage the fact that if you are the few or the only in the rooms, how can you stand out by being comfortable in your own skin. And so for me, I think that I got my confidence when I really felt that I can be myself in workplace. When I started to realize, forget about this accent thing, just let the real me come out. I am by nature like really positive. Even though things will go wrong, I'll be like, let's think about how we solve it. And for the longest time, this is not good. For me, I felt that this is a disadvantage as a finance person, because a finance person is supposed to be thinking about all the bad things that will happen, right? But I actually realized that once I own my positivity as part of my leadership trait, it became my super weapon. Because guess what? When things go wrong, everybody comes to me, because I am always willing to figure out what can we do about it. So really own your own superpower, your strengths, because you already stood out. So just take that strength and then help people to see what kind of superpower that you can have. So that's it. Is that enough? Over.
Yeah. Own your superpower. I like that you already stand out. You already stand out by your accent, by being a woman, by being Black or Asian or whatever. But just give a word of advice to somebody who is just starting their career. How can they, besides the things that are very obvious, the visible path, what are some of the things they can do to make them break through in their industry? Or somebody who feels that they've been stagnant. I've been a manager for 5 years and I'm not seeing any way forward, any way down. Any words of advice or wisdom?
So I start first this time?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to read this quote that I really love from Maya Angelou, and I'm going to follow up with some comments to it. It's from Maya Angelou. It's, you only are free when you realize you belong no place, you belong every place, no place at all. The price is high, the reward is great. So for young people who enter the workforce and they may be different, they have to really convince themselves and say that I belong here. The reason I'm in the room is I earn it here, and don't let other people tell you that you got in because you did not, of any reason, right? You belong and you matter. So because once you tell yourself you belong and you matter, you will put in the hard work to try to let people see everything that is good about you, and you'll do the hard work to be really good at something, right? To get that mastery, to prove to people, right? So I do think that that self journey is really important, especially for our young people who are always thinking about, is this worth it for me to tough it out because I don't feel I belong, I don't feel I matter. But look inside yourself. First time when you step into the door, you belong, and then you matter. That's the reason you're in there. But figure out how you can let other people to see you there, because that self conversation is so important. Everything is like inside out, right? Everything that we do, our success and everything, is that self drive and motivation that we need to give ourselves. Of course,
Okay.
reality based, right? But at the same time, we have so much potential. That's why I coach. Everyone has so much potential, and we are the ones who are getting in the way, right? Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. I think, I hope you are all learning something, and I like the way you've answered this question. Know that you belong and you matter, and have that self-conversation. And I think I mentioned, what's the name of the captain the pilot who safely flew the plane, Hudson River. I think,
Sully.
yes,
Captain
Captain Sully, who said that it was my plane. He owned it, right? And whatever he had to do to make it land safely, he did. And so when you know that you belong in a place, it is part of you. I think from what you are saying and what I'm gathering from what you're saying, Sophia, is that your attitude, your work ethic, everything changes. You belong, you are part of it, you are part of the ownership. So thank you for bringing that perspective. Have that conversation. Have that conversation. You belong and you matter. Thank you. Edie, do you want to add anything before we go to our closing remarks? And if anyone has any question, by all means, add it. Pastor Sobo added, gain new skills and certification. Don't be afraid. Bring solutions. Have a goal and keep yourself accountable.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna sound a little bit repetitive, and I was like, I think Sophia was reading my notes that I was just in the room and her hand was speaking, because what I'm saying is gonna be almost exactly the same, but mine are, I guess, a little bit more cliche. My first one is believe in yourself, you know, and don't be afraid to challenge yourself. I think sometimes, especially when we are older and we're immigrants in this place, we get into a place and we say, oh, we want to be, you know, the security there, the comfort zone that you're in. I'm earning this much. I can pay my bills. I can do this. I can do that. So I don't try to do anything more than that, you know. But believe in yourself. For those of you who are just starting off, the world really is your oyster. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself. You know, there are so many opportunities in this land. In other countries, it's not that way. But here in America, there's so much that you can do. All you need to do is apply yourself, put in the effort. You know, you can start off in what you call it, in nursing and end up in law, or vice versa. You know, but you have to go to school. You have to put in the time. You have to read the books, take the exams, and do what you have to do. So it starts and ends with you, the individual, being as you're led by God, you know, to do something. And my second thing is, it's going to sound kind of contrary to what I just said, but bloom where you're planted. You know, if you're in this role for this season, be your best you in that role, in that season. Fulfill your purpose, your divine purpose in that place while you're there. And, you know, like I said, excellence has always been my mantra. We are excelling in everything we are doing. And sometimes that does, it does make a difference, because it helps you be seen, you know. And then the third thing I'll say is pay it forward. As people have put their time and their energy into you, I am a product of so many people's investments, you know, so many people pouring into my life, investing in me, helping me get certified, helping me do different things. And so that's one of the other reasons why I always try to do that for other people, is because I know I didn't get where I am by myself. It's by God's grace and the plethora of people that He put in my path to help me, to guide me. I remember my first boss when I came out of grad school. I worked for the Smithsonian, and every day I came into work, he was like, "Why are you still here? You need to be out there. You know, you don't be in this government job." Not that the government job was bad, but he was like, for me, starting off with the skills that I had, he wanted me to go out there and do something great. And he kept bugging me until I applied for the position with a consulting firm, and I got it. You know, those are the kind of people that you need in your life. Not that they can't use you where you are, but they recognize that you can do more somewhere else, and they push you there. And I have people who I've pushed away from my team or pushed into other places because of that, because I can see that they can do more elsewhere. So, you know, pay it forward, bloom where you're planted, believe in yourself, and trust God to guide you. That would be my parting comments.
Yeah, parting comments. Believe yourself, bloom where you are planted. Listen, these are powerful, powerful words, and pay it forward. Sophia, any parting words? Please, as Sophia gets ready with her parting words, we just have like 6 minutes to go. Our conversation has been based on this book, Breaking Through, the Immigrant Handbook for Thriving in the American Workplace. And I say that the principles that are being shared here transcend America. Whether you are in England, I see some friends from England, from Switzerland, from all over. These principles apply. They are universal principles that you can apply to help you thrive and reach your potential. You know, the sky is your limit. Somebody actually said, we don't even say the sky. The sky is now your floor. It's not your floor. It's not your limit. So, Sophia, parting words for us.
I'll put my LinkedIn profile.
You're on mute now.
Yeah, so I'm going to put my LinkedIn profile here, and you can connect with me if you want to have conversation. So for me, I think I read my parting words. You only are free with it. But I have 2 words. Why not? Every time when you're challenging yourself and you're like hesitant about taking something new or trying something new or having a tough conversation, instead of saying why and try to justify and make the burden seems heavier and heavier for you not to do it, try to ask why not. Yeah.
Why not? Why not? Why not? Any other comments before we sign off, please? I know there's not a shy group. Okay. Well, we have just about 4 more minutes to go. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you have learned something. I hope you have learned something that you can equip yourself or even share with somebody. We said at the top of the meeting, at the top of this gathering, that we'll be having additional conversations. On June 15th, we have Ishmael Seshi, who is a database administrator, and Geraldine Minsadate, who is a data scientist, 2 smart people, how to navigate the tech industry. Immigrant Voices, please, you're welcome to join us. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for your comments, and feel free to link up with Sophia. Feel free to link up with Idana on LinkedIn. Once again, please help me appreciate Sophia and Idana. Thank you for your stories. More to come, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We give you 3 strong minutes back. Thank you.